If you are a PhD aspiring student who is thinking to go to Spain for his PhD or her PhD, then this podcast is for you. Today we have Marc with us, who is a PhD student at UPC Barcelona. Currently he's visiting KU Leuven. Welcome, Marc.
Thank you.
To the podcast. So he very generously accepted my invitation to share his experience of doing a PhD in Spain. And basically we'll be asking some important questions which are quite common for all the international PhD students applying in Spain, and also local PhD students from Spain sometimes who don't know what's going on, right? So he'll be kind of putting it out there for all of us. So Marc, firstly, could you share a little bit about your background? What was your bachelor, master's, and PhD? Currently, what topic are you working in? And where did you do it from?
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for inviting me, Hafiz. I started my bachelor in 2012, I think. It was on industrial engineering. I did it at UPC in Barcelona too. Their industrial engineering kind of it's a general engineering branch where you mix some electrical, some mechanical. After that, I did my energy master. In this case, I did an energy program, 1 year in Leuven and the second year at UPC. And after finishing my master's, I got a message from one of the UPC's professors asking me to join them to help with creating a new subject, as well as working in a European project about big data and machine learning solutions for distribution grids. After being working in the research center for 1 year and a half, I decided to start my PhD journey, as I thought it makes sense. And right now I'm at the end of my PhD. I have been working on this for 4 years. And hopefully this will be the last year.
Hopefully, yeah. So your PhD topic is on what?
Yeah, so my PhD is on electrical engineering. This is the program, but more specifically, the PhD topic is about data science solutions for distribution grids. And if we narrow it a little bit down, I like to say that what I'm doing is applying pattern recognition techniques to achieve these services, and more specifically, I have worked in fraud detection as well as behind the meter distributed energy resources disaggregation.
Oh, nice. Quite an important topic. Let's go a little bit about the PhD journey itself. So, firstly, how did you choose UPC Barcelona for your PhD, and what motivated you to do that? Did you already mention that you're from Spain?
No, I didn't. Well, I mentioned that I did my bachelor's in Barcelona, but yeah, I'm from not Barcelona, but a city that is 30 minutes, 1 hour from Barcelona.
Right, so that already puts a little bit of perspective also, but maybe you could just also walk us through why did you choose UPC Barcelona for PhD?
Yeah.
And then what is its ranking within Spain? You can also share that.
Yes, I chose UPC. Actually, the thing is, I wasn't aiming to do a PhD degree, but while I was working in the research center, I saw other PhD students and I thought, I think it makes sense and I think it can be something important to my career. So it just, everything made sense. But of course, I'm from Barcelona. I was living in Barcelona with some friends back then, and it was an easy choice for me. Additionally, UPC is one of the two most important technical universities in Spain. It's between UPC in Barcelona and the Technical University of Madrid. And not only that, but from my experience, when doing the masters at the year that I was at KU Leuven, which is one of the top universities in Europe, I was able to see that the level in Barcelona is not that far away from the level here. So I would say that UPC at the end is a technical university that tackles different type of engineering, but especially in electrical engineering, I think we are really well positioned.
That's great. And then the next question is, how long is a PhD usually in Spain? That's one very common question which student ask.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of funding you are on currently?
Okay.
And what are the options actually? Sorry.
Okay. So the PhD journey, I think it's at least 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
After that, getting an extension of 1 year, it's common. So I would say that almost no student ends the PhD in less than 4 years. And after 4 years, you can ask easily for a last year extension. I think that even in some cases, you could spend 6 years working in the PhD, but it's not that common. When it comes to the funding, I will just tell my experience. When I started, I applied for a grant from the Catalonia government, and they gave me this grant. This grant was for 3 years, plus an extension of a 4th year.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the research center I am in, that is called CITCEA, at the UPC, they also give you a little extra of pay just to participate in some of the projects of the research center. And yeah, well, the thing in my case is after 3 years with the Catalonian grant, since I was really active in most of the projects, they decided to change my contract to a junior engineer. Actually, it was senior engineer 1, I think. So yeah, right now I'm paid as a employee.
So Marc mentioned an important point here that normally it's on book it is written 3 years, but practically speaking it normally takes 4 years, which is very common, which also happens here in KU Leuven, right? But he also mentions that it's possible to sort of change the funding source. Initially you are probably as a student, but then now he's working full time but still a PhD student.
Exactly.
So it's kind of flexible, so you can talk about it with the potential supervisor with whom you're going to work. Then Marc, could you also share a little bit about whether the PhD stipend is normally enough to sustain in Barcelona, considering it's the capital? And then I don't know how the housing prices are, how the living expenses are. Do you think it's normally covered within the grant that you get as a PhD student?
Yes, so I think that the grant you get as a PhD student is a little bit, I mean, it's probably not enough. But then again, in this research center you get some complement to work in some projects that at the end helps you with these things.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think that is different in Barcelona and Madrid than from the other cities, because Spain is not an expensive country. Actually, food is really cheap, and most of the services are cheap as well as public, most of them. But the problem with Barcelona and Madrid are the housing. This is getting super expensive, especially because these two cities are getting more and more international. A lot of companies and startups are moving their location to Spain because of the weather, because of the lifestyle. So yeah, renting is going higher.
Right. So, I think it's still possible. He mentions that you can earn extra bucks by doing extra duties. I think that's what you mentioned, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like teaching duties, I believe you get paid for them.
Yes. So
okay.
First, in my case, there's the projects that they give you a complement, but then also there are some like postgraduate programs where you can give some lectures, and they pay also for these lectures. So yeah, I think that at the end, if you wanna get something more, you just have to ask your supervisor and people in the research center. They will help you as long as they see that you are active. So yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, see, let's say we have a scenario. I'm an aspiring student in my 20s or 30s, doesn't matter. And now I want to come to Spain for doing the PhD. Do you think, like, as an international, it's easy to integrate into Spanish society as a PhD student? I know there is always going to be some time that you take to kind of know the culture and things. But how do you think how much difficult or easy is it for an international student to study in Spain, particularly doing PhD? Do you think it's very easy? You can go straight on if you know zero Spanish. Can you survive? That's the question.
Yeah, so I think that again, Barcelona and probably Madrid are really easy cities for international students, especially now. Probably 20 years ago, people weren't fluent in English, but right now you can go around the city. I mean, Barcelona is a multicultural city. There are people from all over the world. Also, a good thing of Barcelona is that the weather is so good that most of the activities are outdoors. So these are free activities. You can see the beaches are full of people from different nationalities playing volleyball or just going for a swim, people running. So yeah, I think it's really easy to integrate.
So that's a very positive point, that even if you're unfamiliar with the Spanish culture, it's very easy to do a PhD in these cities, Barcelona, Madrid, he mentioned. But I'm also pretty sure from my experience that normally if you are doing a PhD, it's a very international environment. In no matter which country you go, it's normally easy. But I would actually suggest, if you're going to Spain, if you're going to whichever country, try to learn the local language for sure, because it increases your chances to integrate easily into the society, and also it shows respect that okay, you're going to a country, you're studying there, so you're also putting in some effort to learn the language. So it shows a lot about you. So I think that's an advice.
Yeah, actually, if I can add on that, I think that in Spain and especially in Barcelona, locals really appreciate international people trying to learn Spanish and then the culture, but moreover in Barcelona, if you try to learn Catalan, even though with just some shallow words, people will be more open to you. Also, usually in these PhD programs, you will always have some Catalan or some Spanish colleagues. These people are willing, and that's my case actually. I have some international colleagues, and we are really good friends, and I help them integrate. And whenever a new student comes, I help them integrate. And if they wanna practice Catalan or Spanish, I can help them. If they wanna know anything about the local culture, I can help them. I can recommend them to go to places, to go to some parties, to go to some festivities, and at the end, I think it's easy if you just try to be a little bit active.
That's great. Now let's also talk a little bit about research environment in UPC. How is I think it's a kind of an important question also, how good or nice research environment you have in terms of the quality of the work that the students undergo. Is it a very tough PhD, and is it a rather easy flow PhD? Could you tell a little bit about the research environment that you have there? Yeah.
Yes. So I think that at the end this is a little bit different for every student. Every student has a little bit a different path. Some of them, or that was my case, start working in many projects, and then you maybe try to work on less projects and focus on your research. Some other students have started focusing a lot on their research, and now at the end of their PhD start having more duties in some projects. So I think every case is different, but it's not. I mean, you have to work a lot if you wanna submit your thesis. Because one thing are projects. At the end for projects, you have to send deliverables, you have to do some reports, but this is not research. This is not something that you will that will be at the core of your thesis. So apart from this, you will have to spend a lot of time doing research, trying to think of useful use cases that can be then published, and try to obtain data or work with open source data. So I think you have to work hard, but if you do, it's a good nice environment.
Yeah, so this shows that it's an active group, it's an active research community. How's the supervision? Normally, are the students supervised nicely? Is it a journey in which the student is mostly left alone in a sea and he or she tries to figure it out himself, or is it mostly a little bit more supervisory kind of environment there?
It's a supervised environment. Usually when you start, professors, so you can have either one or two supervisors. In my case, I have two. At the beginning, I had weekly meetings, or even with twice in a week. But with time, these meetings had to be bi-weekly meetings, or maybe even once in a month. But this makes sense because I think with time I get more ownership of my own research, so I don't need their guidance. However, my recommendation with all of this is, if you do a PhD, try to be the owner of your research from the beginning, because then you will enjoy it. If you just expect your supervisor to drive you around, you will probably not fully understand what you have to do, and also don't enjoy it that much. So I think it's good they try to go next to you, work next to you, but you have to be the owner of your research. This is really important.
That's $1 million advice, actually. I fully agree with him. You have to be owner of your research from the very beginning. This is something I learned in the later half of my PhD. So I fully agree. The more ownership you take, the more interest you develop, and also it gets a bit harder if you own your research. But the thing is, you learn more if you do that. So I would agree with Marc on this. And then Marc, actually one important question which we didn't discuss was, how did you apply for the PhD? No, actually you got an offer from your promoter that he would like to have you as his PhD student on this topic, and then you of course accepted. But what's the procedure for a new student if the student is an international? We have a lot of audience also from subcontinent like India, Pakistan, and other countries also from Middle East and different. So just if you could explain the international PhD application process, normally how should they apply for the position?
Sure. I think there are two main ways to do that. The first one is look for authors. So these research centers, and again, the research center I'm at is called TIPCEA, and every time a new project enters our research center and they have to look for a PhD applicant to spend some time on this project, they will publish a job offer, and if you're a good candidate, they will just select you and you will get at least the funding through this project, so you will probably don't have to worry that much about getting a grant. The other option is being active, looking for the professors that might make more sense to your interests, write them, try to be compelling in the email you write, of course be respectful, attach your CV, and just ask them if there's a possibility to do a PhD. They will probably just tell you, okay, of course, that they are always open to receive new PhD students, but if there's no project to pay them, they will have to apply for a grant. So these professors can tell you, okay, you should try to apply for this grant. If you get the grant, you will be more than accepted.
Yeah. And that grant, could you tell a little bit about what's the name of the grant? If someone wants to.
Yeah, in Catalonia there are these grants that are called Agaur and Sgur.
Could you also spell them?
Yes, it's AGAUR.
AUR. Okay.
Yes.
And the second one?
Is SGUR.
SGUR.
Yes.
Okay, so AGAUR, Agor, and Skur.
Sgur, yeah.
Skur. Okay.
Yeah, I will check it with you, and maybe you can.
We will share also the link in the description just for your information. So please carry on.
Yeah, and then there are also some grants from the Ministry of Spain, which I don't know the names because I didn't ask for these. And then of course sometimes there are these projects that are Marie Curie's that are better type of scholarship.
Right.
But for this you could see the job offer published.
Sounds good. So we will also share the group name or the website of the research group which Marc is currently working in, just for your information. So if you find a pathway that interests you, then you will also find faculty which are working there, and then you can email them, or as you mentioned, there are job positions for the PhD students, so you can just look them up and then see if something interests you. But the main highlight is that it's very international, PhD friendly environment, so you can definitely consider UPC Barcelona. Mm-hmm. Are we also talking about other universities in Spain who are the same? Like you mentioned TU Madrid.
Yeah.
You said that that's also quite like that. So these two, would you recommend for now for the internationals to focus on these two only?
Not only. I mean, it depends on the PhD program that you want to apply for. If you want to go for technical programs, I think these are the strongest ones, but not the only ones. I mean, in Valencia there's a good university too, that is Politecnica Valencia.
Okay.
In Oviedo there's a really good university regarding electrical engineering, but I think it's more focused on that. And then in Seville there's also some good universities.
Great.
But probably these are not the only ones, so I'm not a specialist.
Sure, but he already mentioned a few names, so these are something which you can look it up.
Yeah, what I would say is in Barcelona and Madrid you will find the most international environment, but also the most expensive housing.
Great environment, but expensive housing. So let's talk about post-PhD pathways. What kind of careers do normally the PhD graduates from Spain take? Is it the industrial pathways, or is it the research pathway as a postdoc and all? I
think there's a little bit of everything. So yeah, it depends on many things. If you wanna, there's only one thing, that is that if you wanna develop an academic career in Spain, then you must know Spanish, at least Spanish, and if you also know Catalan, it's a plus to apply for UPC positions. Apart from this, if you want, I mean, of course, there are some positions of postdocs that you can apply without knowing the language, but then also most of the people go for an industrial pathway. But I mean, that depends on the person. After 5 years doing research, you might wanna jump to industry for a while and then come back.
But one thing he mentioned important is language. I would really stress, like, if you start a PhD, at that time you're not expected to know the language, but invest these 4 years of your PhD or 3 years of PhD smartly into learning the language, because that is really going to position you well in the market. Even if it is academia, even if it is industry, it's always going to help you. So a language learned never goes waste. That's my experience. And then could you share about how long the PhD students can stay after their PhD? Is there a permit which they can apply after the PhD?
Yeah, I think after the PhD you can stay for 1 year, so 12 months, in which you are supposed to be looking for a job or for another way to get the permit. But also, I know that after 5 years working and living in Spain, you can apply for the permanent residency.
Okay.
Which is something good.
That's nice.
So yeah, if your PhD takes 5 years and you can show that you've been living there for 5 years, and then I think that to apply for the permanent residency, you will have to show that you have learned a little bit the language, you have learned a little bit things of the culture.
Of the culture, yeah.
It's not a difficult exam, but yeah, you have to show that you want to live there.
Definitely, yeah. So very useful information here. 12 months for the internationals to search a job. And is the PhD stipend taxed or not taxed? Is it considered as a working experience or is it not?
It's considered as a working experience, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because in Belgium it's considered half. I think we have mentioned this before in the podcast about the PhD, how to do PhD in Belgium, in which Oscar mentioned that your time in Belgium is considered half if you're a PhD student towards permanent residency. But the good thing about Spain is that it counts full. So if you do your PhD in 5 years or 4 years, you just have to spend another year and then you'll be eligible. But do learn the language and try to learn about the social culture as well. Okay. Finally, actually this is the second last question. What would be your advice for students who are thinking to go for a PhD in Spain? Would you recommend doing it to students, or what would be your main advice to them, let's say?
Yeah, so I think that at the end, what might make Spain more appealing to you is the lifestyle. So of course I know some people that went for a PhD in Stockholm, and KTH is a great university. But if you are not ready to live in the Stockholm conditions for 3-4 years, then don't go to Stockholm. I mean, you can do research wherever you want. In Spain, there are really good universities, and moreover, there are really good researchers. So my advice would be, look a little bit what everyone is doing in Spain, and if you see one professor or one group that are doing research that you are really interested on, just write them. Write the professor and 2 of their colleagues in order to reach them. And if you really want to do something, you will probably be able to get it.
Great. So I hear a lot of positives here. Okay, let's move on to some rapid fire questions. One thing you wish you had known before starting your PhD?
That you have to own it.
Okay, so you have to own it. Best food in Spain?
Tortilla de patatas.
Tortilla de patatas.
It's like a potato omelette.
Great. What is harder to learn, Spanish or Catalan?
I will say Spanish, but because I'm Catalan native. But I think both are really similar. The only difference is that there are more resources to learn Spanish. So yeah, but if you are going to Catalonia, learn Catalan too.
Okay, awesome. First, should they learn Spanish or first should they start learning Catalan?
Yeah, first they should learn Spanish.
Okay, so Spanish, but he's saying do also in parallel try to...
Yeah, at least the easiest words. There are some words, and there are some words that are really from the Catalan culture, so try to learn those and you will get smiles from Catalan people in there.
For example, he'll give us a few examples maybe.
Yeah, Catalan words?
Yeah.
Migdiada is siesta. That is the nap.
Okay.
So pam tumacat is like bread with tomato, and this is a typical Catalan dish. If I think of another one, I will just let you know.
Okay, thanks. Then, what's your favorite place to visit in Barcelona?
I think Collserola. That like a mountain that is at the end of the city, and you can see the whole city with all the buildings and also the sea. After.
So Collserola, right?
Collserola, yes.
Sorry if I'm butchering the language.
No, you're pretty good.
Can you survive a PhD without siestas?
I think it depends on your culture. We in Barcelona are really a siesta people. We need this nap. Of course, when I'm at the office, I just don't do it. But whenever I work from home, I try to have 20 minutes to do a short nap after having lunch.
I would love doing this because after you've had lunch, there is this glucose rise, and then that rise and then the fall of it's really like takes you to a food coma.
Yes.
So that siesta could really help you, right? Like 20 minutes, you're off and then you wake up fresh.
Yes, exactly. And also in Spain we don't have light lunches.
Okay.
So I know here in Belgium it's just a small sandwich and that's it. But
in
Spain we eat something more.
So siesta is a must there.
Yeah, it's a must. Especially on the weekends, it's everyone.
Great. Well, that's it actually. That was very helpful, Marc. I'm sure the audience will also have learned a lot here. I normally just do this podcast to give kind of a first impression about how the country and the university looks like, and I think it's very helpful. Although we don't cover everything here, but we do cover at least the main things which you kindly shared. And I think the students who are considering Spain for the PhD, I think this is a very good first look. I can recommend that what he mentioned shows a positive side of things, and you can consider Spain as a very good option. I do understand that you might have to take into account the thing that how the living expense is going to work out, but there are options by which you can top up your stipend with doing teaching duties, which I highly recommend, by the way, because teaching duties gives you a good experience about knowing how the academia works, whether you like teaching or not. In Marc's case, I think you like it, right?
Yeah, I started doing a lot of teaching duties. Now that I'm at the end of my PhD, I'm doing less.
Yeah.
But yeah. Regarding this, I think you shouldn't wait for these duties to come. I mean, if you don't ask your professor to give you these duties, they will just give it to someone else. Probably.
Okay.
So you have to show interest in doing these things, and maybe they tell you, we cannot give you these duties now, but in 1 year we will. So it's good to make them know that you are on the radar and that you are interested in this.
So proactive, he has highlighted this many times. Be proactive.
Yeah.
And you'll get the opportunities. Well, thank you guys. Have a great day, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
We'll see you with another episode of the podcast. Bye.